here we have a black smoke.
Crust, and most stops are the basalts on the surface, but we will have our lunchtime stop will be the sheeted dike complex, which is lower on in the crust. And what this is a black smoker, and a fossilized black smoker. And if you imagine yourself, you're in a mini submersible, like in Alvin or something like that, and we're coming along, and it's got incredibly bright lights that can shine on this, and you would have the black plumes coming out, which actually aren't smoke, they're actually precipitation. And when the fluids, which are very, very hot, have these metal sulfides dissolved in them, and when they come out, they cool and they precipitate. And that would have been coming out, and the actual, everything's been tilted a little bit, so it's not the exact topography of what it would have been, but that white area up there, we're going to walk up to it. That's where the area where the chimney stack would have been. But there's been a little bit of artisanal mining. There's actually a track that we're going to walk up, because a mining company has made that track and drilled several boreholes, and it's been found there is an economic copper ore body underneath this. So this could get mined away at any time. So each time I come here, I think, well, it could be the last I come here, but hopefully it won't get mined away. So as we walk up, we're going to be looking at various copper minerals, and other things just to say. Our stop after this is going to be to look at umber sediments, but actually just in front of us, these are umber sediments, and these kind of purpley browny colours, and the metal precipitation will be sort of settling down in the mud, and these mudstones, a special kind of mudstones, are actually mineable for metal minerals. So basically this site is a fossilized black smoker, part of a somyolophyllite. It is an easily visible red hill, which we saw as we're coming miles away. This is due to oxidized material, oxidized iron. This is originally on the seafloor, a vent for superheated water loaded with dissolved sulfides and a high concentration of copper, zinc and manganese. It contains numerous veins of secondary copper minerals, e.g. malachite, azurite, chalcopyrite, bornite, cuprite and pyromorphite. An ore body 20 meters by 250 meters by 100 meters exists under this site, and mining could commence at any time. Then I've written the smoker is in the geotimes unit, but partially covered by the overlying Theolitic Alley unit. You might be thinking, what does that mean? Well, if we had come here last, you would know what that meant, because I would have built up this story to you. So I'm just going to introduce that story to you right now. This diagram in the handout just here is about the subductions in the Bonin Islands in Japan. And basically, when a subduction zone just immediately starts, you actually have, as a subduction zone starts, if you now move down to diagram 3, there's actually a bit of spreading, and it's called a four-arc basin as it's getting underway. And then once the proper subduction is going on, that's stopped. And then it's just sort of normal island arc type of volcanism. And what the point is basalts which are formed in those different settings have a different chemistry. They have a different amounts of trace elements in them, essentially, immobile trace elements. And the ophiolite here has been mapped recently by looking at these trace elements in the basalts, and all these basalts look the same to the eye, but by geochemical samples they've mapped them into the different units. And what's been found is that not all the pillow basalts in the ophiolite were made at the same time. They were made over a period of time. So the oldest basalts in the Oman ophiolite were made in this four-arc spreading, and these are the oldest basalts. And later on today we're going to see younger basalts. In fact, we're actually going to see some bonitatites, which is a type of andesite which is highly rich in titanium and and just remind myself. Right now is we're interested in the black smoker, and just know that it was forming earlier on in the stage. Right, I'm gonna. The red would be oxidized iron. Hilary, you're a much better expert in mineralogy. So if you point out, please feel free to. I think here you're beginning to see, I'm imagining it, this is what I think, anyway, the fluids have been forcing their way through, and you see fluids being sort of coming around the pillows, and it's hydrothermally altering. It gets much more intense as we climb higher, but fluids under pressure just forcing their way out of everything. So coming around, you see coming around the edge of that, and hydrothermally altering it. Yeah.
All right, we're at a black smoker.
Testing.
It's a Somile ophiolite.
Right, could you, I'm going to explain this. So we're walking up the sides of this black smoker, which would have been on the seafloor here in Oman with a black precipitation coming out, because it was metal sulfides dissolved in super hot water, and as they came out onto the surface they precipitated out. But as I'm walking up the side of it, I'm stopping here just to show you here, and you can see this is a portion of pillow basalts where all these fluids have been forcing their way out through these pillow basalts, and fluids just been squeezing out everywhere, forcing everywhere out these channels of fluids, and they've been hydrothermally altering this basalt and turning it into this epidote and other hydrothermal minerals.
Bauxite and limonite? It looks just like
Yeah, I
that.
was thinking limonite.
Yeah.
Bauxite is an aluminium-rich
Oh, okay.
rock, and there's no aluminum in well, very little.
Probably
You
chaotic.
mostly find bauxite on highly weathered granites and stuff, which have a lot.
So what would be your guess on why it's white?
Yeah, I mean, without
Weathered,
taking it home,
weathered, huh?
Without taking it home and doing a X-ray diffraction on it.
The walk is that tree.
So this is the kaolinite, right, too?
I don't think the yellow's kaolinite. I would think that's limonite.
Yeah, probably
Limonite.
goethite or
So iron.
limonite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm guessing. I don't know.
Limonite is a yellowy, beyond which there is no. There's no more. There's no more to remove.
Yanda. This is limonite. It's an iron ore. I want to take a picture of it.
This is really beautiful.
Chimney stacks there, and super hot fluids will be billowing out over a spreading ridge in a 4-arc basin, and they would have metal sulfides that would be coming out of precipitation as a sort of a black smoke. You can't see the chimney anymore because it would have been collected for copper mineralization. In fact, inside this mountain we're standing on is a commercial ore body. And in my hand I have, for example, some epidote, and here we have some opaline silica, but there are all sorts of wonderful specimens of azurite, malachite, chalcopyrite, and this will probably be a copper mine in the future, but hopefully not for a while, because it's such a wonderful resource to be able to visit a black smoker without having to get in a submarine and go to the bottom of the ocean.
So here we are at a black smoker. What's exciting is this is from the Cretaceous, the Somalo-Ophiolae, and this is one of the older smokers. So as the subduction was beginning to happen, this was one of the early places for mineralization on the deep sea floor. So right now we're standing on top of a fracture that had a lot of intense high pressure mineralization. There were chemosynthetic communities. It was all no oxygen, so there was a lot of sulfide, and the minerals are very rich underneath here. There is a ore body, and what's exciting is this would have been on a deep ocean floor, so it's like we're scuba diving. We're looking at this seamount, but it's now on the top of a mountain so that we can see it and share it and talk about it and enjoy it.
These are, we stopped here to see these umber sediments, and you can see they're directly behind us, and we're going to walk over there in a minute and get into them. There were some umber sediments actually at the last stop. We needn't have driven over here, but this is a larger outcrop, and we were seeing umber sediments from the top. Now, umber sediments, these are metalliferous sediments. They're also called umber sediments. They are iron and manganese rich deposits formed in association with the black smoker hydrothermal vent. So the black smoke's coming out of the top of that, which is really a precipitation. It's in the water column, it's raining down on these sediments. And the metal enrichment occurs when the hydrothermal fluids mix with the cold seawater, causing the dissolved metals to oxidize and precipitate out of solution. And these rocks here are typically unmetamorphosed, and they form thin sedimentary layers that drape over pillow basalts within the ophiolite sequence. The sediments are very fine-grained and commonly show parallel lamination, reflecting quiet deposition from the hydrothermal plumes. And at this site, a fossilized tube worm was found, but it was been taken away to the University of Muscat, so there's nothing to actually see. But that leads on to this grey box that I've written. And one of the big things about hydrothermal vents that I imagine most of you know, but maybe some of you don't know, what is so incredibly cool about them from a biology point of view, when you go down to the bottom of the ocean, there's this whole community of these tube worms, these giant clams, these fish, but it's totally dark down there. And it's an entire ecosystem existing not on photosynthesis, but existing on chemosynthetic bacteria. And you know, it's its own special food web, demonstrating that you know, life on Earth can thrive on other things other than light. You know, when this was found, this was a sensation. Yeah. Was it in the 1980s or yeah, absolute sensation. And actually, just linking it back to Snowball Earth, it's quite interesting. When you had Snowball Earth, you would have had everything covered in ice, maybe, if that theory is completely right, and there would be bacteria living in meltwater puddles. But actually, down in the oceans at the hydrothermal vents, there would be bacteria as well. And I think it's thought, though, that we're all descended from the bacteria that hang on in the meltwater puddles rather than the bacteria at the hydrothermal vents. But I can see Hillary doing that, and of course it's just a theory. There might be other theories. It's an extraordinary thing to think about, you know, where we have come from. But anyway, let's go and look at the umber sediment. So in some parts of the world this is actually mined. It's actually mined for its metal content. So just feel free to roam around and check it out for some minutes. We'll be here for a good 20 minutes.
Burnt umber.
Yeah, it's special stuff.
So Charles, what's your recommendation on being comfortable on these field trips?
So it heats up really quickly, and so I like wearing the long pants that can be detached into short pants. And now that we're out in the mountains where we've gotten a lot less dust over here. So the comfort level has gone way up, and it's great to be sitting on these umber sediments. So these are chemosynthetic communities that are high concentrations of metals and mineralizations in association with the black smoker in the background. So it's a real opportunity to see the ocean floor. Rocks that were deposited on the deep ocean floor right here, conveniently located at the surface of Morocco. Lights, camera.
So the you often hear about that symbiosis between the tube worms, and this is a whole new biosphere. And so the question is, how is it disconnected from our photosynthetic world? And we know our photosynthetic world is where bacteria, which are the only photosynthesizing single cell bacteria, and then we have plants, of course, and things like that, fix CO2. They reduce CO2 to organic carbon. That's how they make biomass. And in that case, we always talk about how we move electrons when we talk about metabolism. So the CO2 is an electron acceptor, and the electron donor is actually water. And so it was pretty advanced to get to photosynthetic fixation of CO2. It's a very high energy process. Water has a high energy, but you get it when you couldn't get it from light. So how do these guys do it without light? And so they had to capitalize on a reaction that would want to go but was kinetically inhibited, and that's the oxidation of sulfide. So you have H2S coming from the hydrothermal systems, and in that case the sulfide is the electron donor. It oxidizes to native sulfur or other sulfur species, and then the electron acceptor is CO2, and that then makes organic carbon. And so the chemosynthetic autotrophs, meaning they make their own biomass, like photosynthetic organisms are also autotrophs. They make organic carbon, which the tube worms eat. And so, and then the cycle keeps going and going and going, as long as you have a supply of the two things you need, which is the hydrogen sulfide, yep, as long as you have the hydrothermal system going, and CO2, and you got a lot of that. So that's how this whole completely different biosphere.
Phosphorus involved somehow? I thought
phosphorus is always involved because
okay.
that's ATP, the energy currency of cells, and so you need a way to get phosphorus, and there is dissolved phosphate in the oceans, as long as you don't have too much calcium, it precipitates out. So yeah, so that's basically how you can make this autotrophic system without light.
A little bit more verbally. Now, this is a site from the guidebook of a geological handbook to north-west Oman, and I'll show you that guidebook at lunchtime. And what it's the hexagons. I mean, if you stand on this side of me, Paul, you'll see where I'm pointing at. You've got these hexagons, and we're going to walk up on top of them, and you can see the hexagonal cooling, and then you can see them in section there. Also, behind that acacia tree and further back, the hexagonal cooling is better. Now, I'm just telling you that, and we'll come up here as well. And we're going to walk down there. Impressive, pillow basalts. There's pillow basalts here, and then here we've got a feeder dike, and this feeder dike is feeding up to pillows above. And what is really extraordinary about these hexagonal cooling joints is this is submarine, and these are forming in a submarine lava flow. And when I first came here, I thought, I don't think you could have hexagonal columns in a submarine lava flow. But I've since been speaking to people on a previous trip who are Alvin pilots and oceanographers who came on my Moroccan trip, and they showed me, yes, you can get marine lava flows that are so thick you get cooling structures. And this is what this would be. So it is a marine lava flow that was so thick that you could actually get the hexagonal cooling structures. And some of these cooling structures, when we look here, they kind of look half cooling structure, half pillow basalt, but it is forming like that. So anyway, I'm going to let you range around, but what I recommend is, you know, have a look at the stop that was originally going to be 5, and what's originally going to be 6 is over there, and what's going to be 7 is over there. But because of the time we want to have lunch, we're going to go that way, and we're going to have lunch in Masheated Dykes, and then we're going to come back to the stops over there. And the point is that we've got 3 different stops in different lava chemistries, and this story I was beginning to say at the other stop, where when the subduction zone just starts, you actually have a thing called a 4-arc spreading. You get magma coming in, and a bit of spreading happens there, and you get a certain type of basalt. But then once the subduction zone has got underway, you get a different type of lava being produced. And in actual fact, they've actually mapped 4 different units. It's sort of transitioning between those 2 end members, and these units are the geotimes unit is the oldest. Then there's the Lossile unit, the Theolitic Alley unit, and the Bonatitic Alley. This is what the authors have just chosen to call these units. But this, like the Black Smoker, and like the very, very impressive basalts we're going to see at the end of the day, which are arguably the world's best pillow basalts, they are all the same unit, the Geotimes unit. But a stop, which is only about 5-10 minutes drive over there, is going to be in the Theolitic Alley unit, which is the unit above, and then a stop 10 minutes further on that way is going to be boninotite lavas, which is, I'm going to tell you that story when we get there. But I was just mentioning that, and I won't talk about this geochemistry of the lavas so much until we get to the boninotites. Okay. Well, anyway, have a free reign and have a look. Well, pillow basalts, where that story is just going to be all so obvious and so spectacular. But these are pillow basalts, and this dike here would have been feeding up to erupt pillow basalts which are above us, which have been eroded away. And the later ones with the later chemistries, which would all have been above us, and that's been eroded away. So
there's likely a fault here, right?
Yeah. It seems, or something.
I hadn't